I wanted to try and share what a week in our lives looks like, but I quickly realised it's hard to show you without giving you the impression that our weeks are manic and crazy. Don't get me wrong, they are both of these things. We literally don't have a single day at the moment that doesn't have work or sport or games or other commitments. But I really don't want this video to feel like a brag about the hustle. What I've realised is, yes, this is a very full season of our lives, but there are also so many beautiful present moments within it. I doubt we'll ever be as connected or spend as much time with our kids as these primary school years. While it can be really easy to get swept up in the complicated logistics of organising this person here, then I'll go there and get them and grab food and back to here, I'm really trying my best to just be here, only thinking a few steps ahead, just enough to feel mildly organised and not getting too caught up in how long our days sometimes feel. So with that being said, let me share our week with you. I'll try to share some of the things that help me to feel less overwhelmed and how I still manage to do all the things I do for my family, for my work, and for my business. As you've already seen, I start my week on a Sunday where I prep lunches while I cook dinner. I work as a guidance counsellor in a primary school Monday to Wednesday, so this means I need to be extra organised for the first half of the week. I also like to start my Monday at the gym. If you're currently in a season of motherhood that doesn't let you get up early without your kids, please don't compare yourself to me. I've only started doing this in the last year now that all of mine are at school. Prior to this, my littlest would always be in bed with us, and getting up early wasn't worth it because it would just mean he would also wake up. And instead of feeling like I had time for myself, it just meant I had to start mothering earlier. So I opted for the extra sleep instead. On Mondays, I pick up free food from our local grocery store to feed our kids at school for breakfast club and lunches for those who don't have it. This is really the only part of my working week I can show you because students and confidentiality, but trust me when I say I spend the rest of the day literally running around the school doing all manner of things. Afternoons are always full of music practice and homework and footy training. On this particular day, I was lucky that Andrew was home, so I didn't have to go to training and just stayed at home with Rory and Luca. I really don't have any advice on managing homework. Even as a former teacher and someone who works in a school, we're so busy with sport and all the other things that homework just gets slotted in where we can, and we try not to make too big of a deal out of it. I try to do at least one load of washing each day to keep on top of it, and I have a system where we all have labelled buckets in the laundry that I sort into as soon as the clothes are dry. I'm also working on teaching my kids how to sort from the dryer to their buckets when they go hunting for something, so I'm hoping one day this job won't be mine. That's my wishful thinking anyway. Because I didn't have to go to football training on this particular Monday, I snuck in a short meditation before the craziness of bedtime began. I've long given up trying to make my yoga practice long and indulgent. Instead, it's often snack-sized and crammed into the pockets of time between mothering, but it's always worth it. Please enjoy this montage of my kids settling down to sleep. I used to fight this bedtime craziness, but now I know they need to get out this last little burst of energy before they can calm down. If I try to stop them doing the acrobatics before bed, it just ends up being a bigger battle to get them to settle down anyway. So now I mostly just ignore the craziness that goes on, although it was fun to catch it on camera. And that's it for my Monday. Andrew was home by now, so we watched some Netflix and went to bed. I spent years trying to create a morning routine that involves not touching my phone for the first part of the day, until I realised that I actually really enjoy this first half an hour of the day that involves watching YouTube videos and drinking my cuppa in peace. So now that is my morning routine. Giving myself this time first up means I'm more likely to get up early, which means I then have time for the other good things I want to do in the morning. It's much easier to talk myself into getting out of bed for a cuppa and YouTube than it is to get up for the gym or some yoga. Once I'm up though, I have less trouble talking myself into moving my body. Don't mind my little friend who just constantly stares out the window while I do yoga, desperately trying to guilt me into a walk. These days, my yoga practice usually involves a guided practice with an online teacher, and then some of my own play and a meditation. It doesn't always happen, but on this day I still had a little bit of time before anyone woke up. So I did a quick half an hour of video editing before the boys got up. It might not feel like a lot of time, but it does add up over the course of a week. Once everyone is up, I get myself ready before putting something in the slow cooker for dinner. Surprise, we have footy training again tonight, and Andrew is working, which means we'll all be going. It's nothing fancy for dinner, but at least it means I don't have to think about it when I get home and I'm exhausted. And then we drop the big man to the bus before taking the other two to before school care. And then we pick them up again in the same place 6 hours later. I always have bulk snacks in the car to eat on the way to training, otherwise everyone gets hangry, myself included. And then it's home for an easy dinner.
Rooster, yours is ready.
Look, I admit, chicken toasties aren't the healthiest thing for dinner, but I choose my sanity and I'd rather be sitting out here as the sun sets and the moon rises with my boys than cooking anything fancy. But let's be honest, they probably wouldn't eat anyway. Luca came back for round 2 while I did a quick kitchen clean-up and made lunches for the next day. I chucked on load 73 of the washing for the week and sorted the one I washed yesterday before going through yet another bedtime routine of books and music under a galaxy light. Once the boys are in bed, I make myself another cuppa, and because Andrew was still at work, I did another half an hour of editing before falling into bed myself. Please know I don't spend hours into the evening working on my business. I like sleep too much. You really don't need 40 hours to grow an online business. You just need to be really focused on what tasks you actually need to do and what are just busy work. Wednesday starts by taking my overexcited doggo out for a walk. I love watching the sunrise on these mornings. These walks really do make my heart happy. By Wednesday, it's starting to get harder to get my littlest up in time for school. Life's hard for the youngest of 3 boys and being dragged to everyone's training throughout the week. Wednesday afternoon feels like Friday for me because I'm done with the work week. And yes, I still work at home Thursday and Friday, but it feels different because I choose what I do. From experience though, this feeling changes when your side gig is your full-time gig. It's one of the reasons I still like working part-time for someone else while running my business. I enjoy my business more when I don't have to depend on it so much. It feels freer and more fun, and I like it that way. Another night, another easy dinner. This time their favourite snack plates, which always involve some sort of protein and then a mixture of fruit and veg.
Be normal.
I'm pretty much cooked by this time of the week, but on this day I spend another 10 minutes editing a reel on CapCut on my phone before calling it a day. And oh, the joys of living in a house that was meant to be a new build but is still not finished. Lucky my work is flexible. I usually like to film on Thursdays first up, but on this day I finished some editing because, as you can hear, there were workers using a nail gun in the background, and nobody wants to hear that in the background of a yoga video. I then had 2 one-to-one sessions. My first was with a woman who'd had multiple losses and is now 20 weeks pregnant. She was still feeling anxious, and we worked on those feelings together. The other was a mentoring session for one of my teacher trainees who had just completed her fertility yoga teacher training. I love one-to-one sessions, but I find that I can't do too much afterwards. I'm wiped. So I spent half an hour cleaning up and getting batteries charged for filming tomorrow, and then I read my book for the last hour before school pickup. Back to the gym on this Friday morning. I've been trying to get there twice a week for strength training because I've definitely noticed my body has been losing strength as I head towards the big 4-0. Then home for a little bit of acro play with the boys. I love that working from home means that we have time for this sort of shenanigans in the morning. Yes, our lives are busy, but if we can still make time for this where we're just genuinely enjoying this time with each other, I think we're doing okay. If I have time, I'll set up for filming before I drop the boys to school so that once they're at school, I can get stuck straight into filming. I think I've built this habit from filming around my boys when they were babies, and I only had a few hours to do it while Andrew took them to the park. It's still important though, because even though I have 2 full days that I could film in, we often have that noisy construction going on during the week that I have to try and avoid. My filming setup has gotten more complicated over the years. I now have 2 lights, 2 cameras, microphones, etc. If you're just getting started though, you can do it with just a phone, a window and some sort of lav mic. Don't let my complicated setup put you off. If you ever wonder why I look like a hot, sweaty mess in any of my videos, it's because often there are builders, today bricklayers, next door. One of the many benefits of living in an estate that's still being built. And so I have to close all the windows in my office, often the curtains as well, and there's no air conditioning, so the whole space, look, it just gets really hot in here. I always plan out my videos before I film them. Ideally, this would be done well before filming day, but it doesn't always happen. So if it comes down to it, I will sketch out a plan right before I start filming. I always have the topics planned well in advance because I get them from the comments and the questions you leave on my videos here on YouTube or requests from my online yoga circle community. I always try and film about 2 to 4 classes each time, purely to save time on setting up the camera. Any more than 4 though and my energy starts failing, and I really don't think the classes turn out as well after 4. I've been putting a lot of effort into trying to make my yoga classes look better this year. I upgraded my camera to a Canon R7 and I used my old M50 as a second angle. Have you noticed? Please make me feel better and tell me you have. On this day, after filming, I took myself to the library for the afternoon to do some editing because the rock breaker next door started making a lot of noise and I just couldn't handle the constant banging. Then it's another afternoon, another training session. This time it's Luca. It's his first year playing footy and literally every day he asks me whether it's Friday yet. God bless the volunteers who coach under 6s. And that's the end of our working week. Every week is different, but some version of that. It's certainly not perfect, but I think it's a pretty good balance of time for me, time for my business, and also being very present with my kids, which at the end of the day is what it's all for, right?